with experience leading the sale of professional services, training, technology, and information services to commercial, international, and federal government clients. Her experience revolves around building and mentoring high-performing teams with a focus on diversity in new business development and marketing expansion. She has vast experience throughout the U.S., also in Brazil and in South America. Her areas of expertise include new customer acquisition, client engagement, with a focus on profitability as an expert negotiator and innovator. Previously, she was with a group 28 Strategy Execution, with offices on the East and the West Coast. In Brazil, she managed 12 direct reports, focusing on the defense, energy, financial services, and technology industries with a $25 million annual budget. As Eric mentioned, she's been a... Yes, Jim?
Were you going to have self-intro?
No, we're going to skip that part because we're going to do today's format a little bit differently. Thank you. Extensive experience in a wide variety of industries, and as we mentioned, Lynn has been a popular speaker and facilitator for our organization for some time. Do you want me to talk about the format? Or do you want to talk about the format?
I'll talk about it.
All right, please welcome Lynn.
Thank you. Applause at the beginning, that's awesome. So yes, I am a 2012 graduate, no, 2013 graduate, and I did immediately get a job right after that. It was awesome. So if anyone's thinking about doing the training program, I would highly recommend it. I do facilitate one of the classes usually, and I'm just a big believer in the organization and what I got out of it. And I think the key thing for me was actually the interaction that I had with people in my class. And I got lucky, and actually the job I got didn't turn out to be a good job, but it was a job. And going through that experience was really helpful in getting me back in the game for interviewing and doing my resume and cover letter and that kind of thing. So what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to turn you into a salesperson. So I wanted to first ask, is anybody in sales or marketing today? Kind of? Okay, so a couple people. So for you all, some of this may be elementary, but most people don't really know that there is a process and a methodology to how successful salespeople actually work. And so I'm going to share a little bit about that with you, but really in the context of what I used to put in place to help two of my friends' kids who had just graduated from college last year get their jobs, right? And I'm not going to give you a lot of the details because we've got kind of some compression on time because of the networking component I'm going to talk about. But I will send the slides to any of you all that are interested, and I've got my notes in there if you'd like to read through and get more detail. But the good news is I am 2 for 2 with my coaching for them. Both of them got jobs, and I'm going to focus on one in particular, actually Julie Buchanan, who is a facilitator, her son, she's my best friend. I helped him. So as Ken mentioned, we're also going to incorporate, I'm going to speak for about 15 or 20 minutes about the first part of the sales process, which is your preparation and putting together your contacts. And then we're going to break, and we're going to break up into groups. We'll have to figure out, it's probably going to be groups of 2 or 3, and actually interact and see if you can come up with, or establish contacts with people for organizations that you may be pursuing in terms of companies or government agencies that you'd like to work for. Also, the types of positions that you are, going after, and then, people that you should be talking to that would be in a position to make hiring decisions. So, as I'm talking, I want you to listen to me, obviously, but I also want you to be thinking in your mind, okay, so what organizations are interesting to me? So, I would like to work for an international company that, offers some kind of professional services. That's what I'm looking for. The kinds of jobs I'm looking for are, sales VP, sales director, or business development executive or account executive. And the decision makers, well, that I think could be anything, right? In terms of the hiring manager, it could be an HR person, it could be the senior vice president of global sales. So does that make sense? We're going to focus on those 3 areas in the networking portion. Okay. All right, so this is what we're going to go through is, as I said, I'm going to make you a salesperson, whether you want to be one or not. And really it all starts with putting together a plan, right? So often I know I can do this and get into this routine outside of my sales activities. I just decide I want to do something, I just start doing it. And really, you really should have a plan in place, right? And the plan that we're going to talk about is preparing, okay, who is your target market, right? Who are you going to, what kinds of companies or organizations you want to work for, what kinds of positions you're going after, and actually putting that information together before you actually start prospecting or reaching out to those people. So the prospecting phase, I don't want to scare you, cold calls is the phrase that most people just think, oh, I could never do a cold call. But in a way, that's what you have to do if you need to reach out to somebody that you don't know. You are making a cold call or a cold contact. And I'll talk a little bit about how you can make that less threatening when you do it. We're also going to talk about just tracking what you are doing, right? So I use the phrase a lot with people I manage, it's all about the activity. So if you don't have a lot of activity, you can't expect to get to the end goal of making a sale if you only have one or two prospects. And the same is true of job searching. And then I don't know if you have ever seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. In that movie, there's a famous line that Alec Baldwin uses is coffee is for closers. So basically no one gets a cup of coffee unless they've closed a deal. So I'm not quite advocating something as strict as that, but my point is here is that you look at the process as a way to, at the end, when you have success, you somehow reward yourself. And also think about rewarding yourself along the way so that you make it fun and exciting and not something that you dread every day when you wake up. Because if any of you are in a situation where you're not working and you're trying to find your next job, trust me, I know I'm there, I've been there. We can all commiserate that it's not fun. So making it fun, I think, is really key. Okay, so I want to ask 3 questions and get just a quick response on how you're actually job searching, all right? So let me ask, I'm going to say the 3 questions and then I'm going to ask one each individually because I want to see which ones you're actually doing. So first question is, how many of you all are just responding to job postings either through, something on Indeed or a company website or, one of these portal systems? Second question is, how many are you responding to job ads like that, but you're also doing networking and reaching out and trying to get referrals? And then the third question is, who is only networking and not responding to posted jobs? So real quick, how many people are doing the first, just responding to things that they see advertised? Okay, raise your hands high. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How many are doing posted job ad responding as well as networking? So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wow, 6. And then how many are just networking and not doing responses? Okay. So that's about 12. So 4, 6, 2. We have more people than that, but it kind of tells you that most people are responding to ads as well as or doing networking. I will tell you the statistics show that responding to job ads is pretty bleak. So I don't want to bring you down on a Monday morning, but here's how it goes. 70+% of jobs are not advertised, right? So what you're responding to are job ads that are out there, but there's a lot more of jobs that aren't being advertised. And then this statistic is really sobering. If you apply to one of those jobs that's actually posted, your chances of getting the job, anybody want to guess?
3%?
3%. 3%.
Yeah.
3%. Okay. So imagine yourself as a salesperson and you're being given a quota to, quote, I had a $25 million quota for my team one time. So if I only responded to RFPs, do you think my team would have ever gotten to our 25 million goal? Not a chance, right? So what my point is here is what we're talking about is being proactive versus reactive, right? Reactive is responding to job ads. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but you should weigh your time and your focus to where can I be, where it says being proactive rather than reactive means to control a situation rather than letting it control you, right? And what we're talking about today is really, as I was saying to Ken earlier, it's thinking about it's a blank canvas, your job search. And you are able to paint whatever you want to create whatever masterpiece you desire. So that's being in control versus reactive. All right, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on what a sales process is and what a sales methodology is. If you're interested it. Like I said, I'll send you the slides and you can read about it. The sales process is basically, this is what is important though, because this is what we're talking about, is something where you focus on that's repeatable, that you can do, that at the end, if you do each step the way you should, you're going to probably have success. So that's really the what. A methodology is the how. So, everyone has their own methodology of doing things, and what I'm basically sharing with you today is my methodology of doing a job search using the sales process approach. It might be, I'm 2 for 2, but I've only done 2, so I can't say it's 100% effective, but I think you're going to get some things out of it. Okay, so we will run through the sales process. So the first stage is preparation, research, all right? As I mentioned earlier, a salesperson is, you wouldn't just go out and start talking to people unless you've done your research, right? You get a list of contacts if you're a salesperson and say, okay, go out and find people who are willing, who can buy our products or services. So you have to do a lot of research. You need to find out, okay, who are the right people that I should be talking to, or the right people that can make a buying decision, right? Who are the organizations that have a propensity to buy the services that I'm offering? And then, what do I need to do in terms of putting together materials to get in front of them to actually have those conversations? So I would say with anything in life, preparation is more than half of what you need to do. And if you don't prepare, usually the results reflect that. The second step in the process is actually making the contact or the prospecting. And I'm going to walk through with what I did with Alex, what that looks like, right? So we've got many modes of communication that we can use now, and we were very clever and agile in what we used with him in terms of what he did. Follow-up and accountability. I'm going to show you a slide later on about statistics it's geared towards salespeople, but I think it's relevant to also probably job seekers, where the follow-up is so important, right? So a lot of times people, like for salespeople, they'll get a lead, right? This happened to me lots. I get so mad at my salespeople because they were given leads. I go into the CRM system, they hadn't even called them. I'm like, well, how can you expect to, sell somebody who haven't even contacted them and they've expressed interest, right? So the follow-up is so key. And then with that is the accountability, right? So making sure that you say you're going to do what you say you're going to do, right? And tracking that. And I'm going to show you an activity tracker that Alex used, as part of my agreement of doing this for him or with him, was that he didn't need to pay me, but he needed to basically do what I told him to do. And I will say he was very good at doing that. And then finally in the process, this one, obviously is optional, but, well, not optional to close, which you want to find your job, but to celebrate, right? You want to make sure that you really focus on the goal and make something of it. Okay. As I mentioned, the sales methodology, that's the how. We're going to skip forward. Okay, so here is Alex, and you're not going to be able to see this because it's very small. But Alex Utano is my friend's son. He graduated last year from Ohio University, and his major was in sports broadcasting. And his goal was to work for a hockey team. He wanted to become a broadcaster. And I'm sorry I don't follow hockey, otherwise I would know all the Capitals key broadcasters. I actually met one in the Montreal airport a couple months ago, but anyway, that's really what he wants to be, is a sports broadcaster, or hockey broadcaster, not just a sports broadcaster. And he has really good experience because he did play-by-play for the university team, and so, that's what he wants to do. So he came out of college, and of course, hadn't really found anything before he graduated, and I said, well, I'll help you with this process. So one of the first things that he did was put together his resume, and then we worked on the cover letter. But I want to point out something that he did that I had never seen. Is anyone familiar with Canva? No. Okay, so Canva.com. If you have not looked at this and used it, you should. Canva.com is basically an online graphic design technology that you can create, I call this a one-page marketing document, or you could even probably refer to it as a one-page resume. And I just thought this was so compelling in terms of, at the top you can see he's got a pair of hockey, the puck and the hockey skates, his picture, his goals, education, skills, and then his work experience. And so he actually put this up on LinkedIn, so it's one of the things that can show up when he's there. So he had all this in place. So before we even started, some of this was put in place. His job search was very focused, though, because he wanted to work for a hockey team. Apparently, in getting a hockey job, there's about a 3 or 4 month period of time that hockey jobs become available, and it's from June through August or September. And so we got together at the end of May, and he had to move quick to try to get all this done in order to try to find something. So that just gives you kind of a period of time that I was working with him and putting all this all together. So let's talk about what his preparation. So first stage of the sales process is preparation. And he went out, and this took quite a bit of time because, as you can see, there are 200 major and 200 minor league hockey teams. He used a variety of sources: LinkedIn, the team's websites. There are sports job boards. He really threw out a wide net in terms of what he was looking for these specific organizations. And he was looking for relevant job position descriptions, so broadcasting, social media, videography, those were the things that he was really, really focused on. But the thing that probably took the most time was figuring out who were the hiring, what we call decision makers. Okay, who is the person that he could reach out to that's going to make a hiring decision? And in his case, for his kind of job, a little bit easier than I think for maybe some of us that are more seasoned, and there can be lots of different types of decision makers, in that most of the people that he was reaching out to had set titles like VP of Operations or VP of Broadcasting. So it was a little bit easier to find that, but not, it still took time on his part. He also put together a list of all the team owners, because I said, if you're going to do a wide net, why don't we also go right to the top? Because you never know. Senior executives sometimes don't get a lot of contact, and I said, let's just see what happens as part of our process. And then, as I mentioned before, there had to be an established timeline to get all this done because his window of opportunity was very small. Okay, so we focused on 200 team contacts. I use the terms tier 1 and tier 2, and essentially those are, most likely, less likely, tier 1 most likely, tier 2 less likely, and they were vice president, or director of operations and broadcasting, and then the team owners. We're going to pause here. I didn't realize we got to that point. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you what happened after that, after we do the networking. Okay. Does that make sense? You realize this?
Sure. Does everybody understand sort of the parallel here, right? I mean, he did the background research. You're going to do background research on the opportunities, the organizations that you're looking at. And do you want to talk about how we're going to pair up or team up?
How many folks do we have? 1, 2, 15. So should we do, maybe we do teams of 3?
That could work, yeah.
And I'm happy to join a team.
Yeah, I'll do one too.
Yeah.
So, all right, so we're just going to do a count off. We're going to do it in 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then folks will kind of group that way. So, Brett, you're going to start.
1,
Ron,
2,
okay, hello.
3, 1, 2,
3,
Ma'am,
1, 2,
and then over here.
3,
1.
1.
Oh.
2.
3.
1.
2. 3. Okay. So ones, we can sort of do, what do we wind up with, 5 groups, I think? We can do corners of the room, I think will work best. And then once you get it organized, we're going to talk about, we're going to get a handout to talk about how you're going to structure the conversations, okay? So why don't we have ones here in this corner, 2s in this corner, How many groups do we have? I'm sorry, I should have counted.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but how many of clusters of those? We'll figure it out.
Yes,
So,
ones and twos and threes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, one's here, two's there, three's here. You know, we'll figure it out. Okay. So everybody, raise your hand if you're a 1. All right. Be up here. Ron, what number are you? 2s. 2's over here with Ron.
Yes, I'm a 3.
And then 3's in the back. 3, John? 3? 3? All right, 3's in the back here. Great. So.
You're 1.
All right, 3's. 1's.
Everyone should have
Okay.
Come on in. Or anytime if you want to. It's up to you.
Yes.
Feel free to move the chairs so you can see one another. Feel free to move the chairs around so you can see one another.
I enjoy the ones, yeah.
Come on in.
So we have 3 groups, and we have, what, 5 in each group?
6
So
here.
the idea is we're going to spend about 4 minutes per person, okay? Because our time limits are constrained. And it's it'll be a round robin. So what you're doing is in your group, you're throwing out to your fellow attendees organizations that you want to work for. And the whole idea is any of these things is if people can identify, oh, I might know somebody there. And if at the top of your head you say, oh my gosh, I know somebody who works for that law firm. You know what, let me get, you might exchange some information at the end, and you can follow up to get information.
No, I'm not.
You're good, okay, okay. Makes sense? Okay. No, that's okay. It looks like you were like,
Sorry to mislead.
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure. Same thing with titles, like job titles. A sales VP. Do you know anybody that would be hiring a sales VP in professional services? You know, I'd like to talk about. I would also say with that, if you want ideas for what other kind of titles you should be going for, get your attendees, fellow attendees to give you feedback, right? So I might not be thinking that I should also be looking for, not that this is the case, but business development VP, you know? So other titles that you think the person should be thinking about. And then finally, if you have names of hiring managers or ideas of what kinds of people would be a hiring manager, and that might be, you know, it could be human resources, it could be whatever. Does this make sense and will it flow, you think? Okay.
Some other things that can have.
Feedback if it doesn't, because again, this is our first go of this. Okay.
And some other things to think about in developing that organizational list are, do you have criteria? Geographic criteria, industry criteria, size criteria, either by revenue size of the organization, size of the team that you want to be in. These are all dimensions that can help you target your search, because obviously there are hundreds and hundreds of companies and organizations in any different industry, but if you know you only want to be in Maryland or Virginia or DC, clearly that's going to help you narrow that target very quickly. If you know you only want to be nonprofit versus for-profit, you only want to be in life sciences or technology or whatnot. So think about the screening criteria that you may want to use to develop that target list.
Okay. So I'm going to keep track of time, and we'll just go one by one, and you all will just decide who goes first.
And we'll aim to wrap this up. What are we going to give it, 25 minutes?
25 minutes.
Okay, 25 minutes. All right, great.
No one spends.
Who wants to go first? I can go first. Okay.
Oh, just pick one.
All right, we're starting the clock.
I always talk a lot. I
I'll go on first.
I can go first.
Go ahead.
So organizations, tell me if I'm doing this right. The organizations I would like to work for are National Center for Historic Preservation.
Want to do is go back to
It's very random list. Hillel International.
So what's the second one?
Hillel International, not a great list that people here maybe don't know the Jewish firm. It's a Jewish thing. Hillel is a Jewish center on campuses, either Emily's List or Planned Parenthood.
Missing a third one, but that gives you an
And
idea.
position titles, I'm very unclear about
Manager title,
copywriter,
the generic
marketing
HR.
specialist. I have a weird background, so I'm gonna be looking for like lower level jobs.
Organization, also
Communication
secretary,
specialist,
so
marketing coordinator, like the job titles are all kind of all over the place.
Position title.
And hiring manager titles, I have no idea.
Secretary, administrative assistant, executive assistant.
Is that what we're supposed to do?
Yes.
But I really like to have some organizational and brains.
I have no idea what to say for that.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, yeah, I do. Communications manager or like a decision, person who hires for that. Communications VP of communications or VP of marketing. Or manager.
Is there a unifying element that created your target list?
Of
There's something-
titles?
No, organizations. Why those organizations?
Oh, yeah, very random. I picked one. I picked one from each of the sort of areas I'm interested in, like Jewish preservation and history. And I can tell you sometimes what I'm interested in. I could progress this. So, because each of us would have a list of like 50.
Sure. And you should.
Right. So I just thought that.
And so, you talked about the roles. What have you know about any opportunities that these particular organizations have you taken to that target?
Yes, I've applied to. I was number one on her. I'm super reactive. So we have to fix that. I want to hear that that's going to be successful. Like,
Not, damn it.
so.
Secretary.
So have you done any work
One,
around researching on LinkedIn, for example, or other resources to identify who those hiring managers are?
Yeah, a little bit. But again, just in terms of like jobs that we're posting.
Do you know if any of these particular organizations are in an active period right now? Are they expanding? Is there transition? Is there turnover?
No.
But even just.
That's an interesting study to look at, because even if there's transition and turnover in a different department, say development or business or whatever, that's a sign that there's a need in that organization. And it may not be, and those needs can be much broader than the roles are actually being.
Primarily in DC.
Okay.
So which way are we going to go? Lynn, you're going to be next.
Right now, I only have a couple of organizations come on. One's called Rainforesters. They're deal with preservation of the rainforest, mostly like in South America and Southeast Asia. But I'm also interested in working maybe like with different animal-related organizations. As for position titles, like donor associate, data reporting, fundraising associate, and hiring managers, usually depending on the size of the organization, might be the CEO or just a regular HR manager.
Again, you know this, if you've been to the class, LinkedIn, try to dig a little deeper into those hiring managers, find those folks. And also our friends here at the foundation, they have fantastic resources on primarily foundations, funding organizations that support some of the issues.
Okay, we need to
talk
wrap
about
up,
issues.
just about 30 more seconds.
We're looking at funding organizations,
I know.
or organizational funds, so
I just never worked in had volunteers.
That's why I listed fundraising associate, because I've done it over
Big law firms, I worked for, last
Would you like to
job I
chime in
worked
here?
for,
Of course.
that
Okay, so I would
was
think that
in number 10 in the city. They're all hiring paralegals. Why? Because they feel
VP
your
of
time.
fundraising.
They don't feel my
I was just thinking,
So,
network.
have a policy mind, you don't have any problems.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up for the first one.
Oh, I see we're doing it for
And I would just encourage you, if you've got good conversations going on, just pause it and then reconnect with people after we finish up that, okay? Okay, so we're gonna move on to second, is there a group that might need another member? Second person, start now. Okay, who's gonna go?
I can give you mine.
So Linda, have you found any particular? Linda, you walked away.
I want to grab it before I forget it.
Okay. Oh, you got cards, terrific.
Oh, here you go.
So I have one. Great, you get to get one of mine.
Oh, okay.
It's Jake's turn for civil.
So have you found any particular resources for doing more research in your area?
Just more of whatever comes up.
Another group you might want to look at is Council on Foundations. Now, again, it's a little bit, it's a reverse lens. Those are the organizations that have the money. But it's a great way, if you want to do that, if you're looking at that world, you learn a little bit more about the issues they're talking about, the groups that they're supporting. That could be a different way to, kind of like a reverse engineering type thing, right? Because those are the people with the money, and you learn a little bit more about what their perspective is around how they look at supporting things, the metrics they
How they distribute money.
Exactly. What they're looking for, what they are looking for around fundraising and development professionals, what are the things that stand out. And then, so have you tracked anything with AFP, the Association of Fundraising Professionals?
I've never even heard of them.
Oh, okay, well, you need to get plugged into that.
So I'd like to stay in the Mid-Atlantic.
AFP, and they have a local chapter, AFPDC. Take a look, I would expect that they do events on a fairly regular basis, because again, they're the professional association for fundraisers from the aviation, their DC chapter. Pretty active. Yeah.
But anyway,
Great.
I'm
So, yeah,
thinking government organizations.
Anybody have other suggestions in development?
I think I if you go over a job and had a few.
Many of them are.
Yeah, and you're interested in they reach out to me or I reach out to them.
Another one.
Link is quick.
It's a
And then the side.
tangent.
So
But,
that's
Here's
why
a-
they
here's
reach
a-
out to me.
Leaders in energy. Leaders in energy.
Some of them are looking for dates.
Last year. Energy. They focus on green jobs. So that's
My guy, for instance,
environmental, climate change.
We have
So leaders in energy.
We gotta focus on his, so this is how it goes, we focus on each person, so needs, whether it's for him as well. And we're gonna focus on
kind of organization?
the networks and impacts and expand.
There's a newsletter called There Is, which I think is, because like for them, you're either environmental or climate change, and they may have jobs now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was
Oh, yeah.
So to not be responsive about that, there's a question maybe of completion, and just like, not being like my approach of like just responding to ads not to work, but being aware of those ads is useful. I mean, being aware of those openings is useful as
Absolutely. Yeah, but it's not, it's a smaller slice of it.
Yeah, it tells you where things are moving and what kind of job titles there are.
That's an issue just to start.
That's funding from the federal grant. It's a one-time shot. I'm looking for something with 50
Right, so product, I'm hearing product development,
Just
engineering, so you can have defense contracting, you don't have to worry about project management.
And you know, we're working with the Foundation Center, we're going to put together a broader event next month. That they call the social sector networking. So it's something to look at.
A lot easier to get a job in
Probably
the
be
District of Columbia. So
Great. Other ideas for Linda?
pass that on to you. You might look for a nearby governmental.
Who's next?
Yes.
Okay, 30 more seconds, so.
Okay, the organizations that I've come to work for is either a Fortune 500 company or a middle market. Well, I could do middle, probably middle market above. So Fortune 500s, and I'm looking mostly in Virginia, but I go to DC and Maryland, but Virginia.
What's your work?
Internal audit.
Okay.
Yeah, internal audit, okay. So I've been there for an internal audit position, or depending on the size of the organization, the next level below. The hiring manager would be the
And I'm sorry, you said Fortune 500, then you said another.
middle market.
Middle market.
Middle market. So what I would consider middle market, and these might even be recently public companies.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up for number 2, move on to number 3.
Okay, middle market experience. I don't know if you've heard of any of these Presidios or
You gotta sell them.
Walker and Nova. They're actually in Maryland. And I'd like to pursue more.
Actually, it's related to someone who.
Fortune 500 would be Mars. Yeah, I know, right? Well, hey, I would not mind working for Mars. But it's like Mars, Microsoft, Oracle, and I put Verizon and Amazon in there, so those make all Fortune 500.
Do you have Fortune 500 experience?
Oh yeah, no, my background is huge. So Mars, and so that's where my experience is. But realistically, what I've been counseled to do that and get. So to me, so middle market, I've been applying to middle market. I would be very interested in a startup. I would love that environment. I have.
He said that's extra work.
My
That's extra work. Oh, some consulting capacity for that firm or something.
I don't know if it's strong, but I know we've met at other events. We've been in for things. We have other connections.
Great.
Very pathetic, perhaps. Middle market, are you familiar with the ACG, Association for Corporate Growth?
No.
Okay, so look at that. As you might be able to tell, my world's associations, when you're here at 40 plus. I think that's the main way for that. So Association for Corporate Growth is the middle market.
Okay.
Okay, and they're all about entrepreneurship, connecting with the funding community, the network community, being a little bit of startups, but primarily middle market. They're not as active in DC as they should be. They're based in Chicago, chapters all over the country. I know the chairperson, or whatever they call it, came out of the association group.
But right now I'm building myself as
Great.
Fred, please.
My mother was an internal auditor for a big hospital.
So here's what I'm finding. I have no background in hospital.
And then, you know what? You're really, you're thinking that you would need, you just need to know your numbers. I mean, you audit hospitals the way you audit banks, the way you audit companies. So it's the same, your practice is the same. You're just in a hospital. And people don't think about hospitals having to have auditors.
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I can see, definitely. I think, I mean, I would be open to anything. I mean, I can give you my
Jay was talking to me, he had a contact with the DCAA, it's contracting audit agency.
Yes.
They're like the audit police for all that contract.
Yeah.
They're like, they're the place, they're the people you don't want to use for free. If they're coming in, they smell something.
Because the government has that public exposure.
They may be in the
So what I'm finding here, and I'm not being negative, but trying to is my background. I mean, I've only been here about 5 years. I came down first for a job opportunity, which was in finance. So my background is financial services, technology, which is good around here, but I do not have any government hospital experience. I think there's another one, and when I read the ads, anyway, but I'm rejecting the and I get the reject email. 48 hours. So that's kind of why I narrowed my focus to. I know there's technology firms here. I know I talked to banks.
No, you might want to.
But I'd be open to it. I absolutely would be, and I will continue to try.
I hope that's such a huge growth.
Yeah.
Not a lawyer, I have a high school education.
Yeah.
30 more seconds, 30 more seconds. 30 more seconds.
Yes, I've already.
They just did the one, their spring one in March.
I'm going to say pursue
And then they just meet the company.
That's
a bunch of money.
No one knows this. Yeah, that's pretty tragic.
Hospitals sit on the money.
So they do Washington hospitals.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we're gonna stop there. I'm not gonna.
Yes, I will. You know what? I'm gonna
Stop there. Okay, sorry, we're moving on to number 4.
Oh, okay.
Number 4, Henry.
Okay, so, the job press I'm looking at, I'm sorry,
Henry.
CACI, industry,
So what?
and, yeah, I mean, I'd like to work in DC, that's where I usually work.
What's your role? What's your target role?
Oh, yeah, well, GIS analyst.
Yeah.
GIS analyst, geographic information system.
I know someone who does that.
Where?
Actually, I tell everyone who does it.
And then what you're.
Well, go on, maybe
Okay,
make it.
and then, yeah, then of course, vetting programs, data analysis. So I think those two jobs.
organizations aren't going to help us.
Data analysis.
That are located.
I mean, are you, so, all right, because I don't know, CACI and Plato, so those government.
Yeah, as we say, so the software is kind of,
It is, because you've got to decide.
Let's say I've started out with
Paralegal, legal.
they do have jobs.
Yeah.
So, so going back to,
that will get more.
Yeah, we can talk afterwards, yeah.
yeah, so those are, yes, that's just starting off.
I mean, I didn't understand what she does, and I think it's the same thing with that.
Organizations.
Yeah, okay, so what's the contact?
His name is Sam.
So I can put up a lot of there.
So we're the hiring managers, so we target those groups, Fred, you know?
Oh,
It's a lot of it. So
yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, I do have a contact in Vitals that helps with, you know, information.
Well, I was in this government position, so.
CACI, I'm still trying to get in. I mean, I used to work for John
Part of the
I'm trying to,
they want experience with this and that.
Did you go to the Women in Technology thing?
For example.
Okay, so if you go to their website, under events, I think they still have the companies listed. But I
Remember what I said earlier about
how to connect with them. Because, as you know, all of those companies are talking about
You know what else is out there is, there's something, I don't know if you've heard of this at all, called Fed It's a networking event, it's a once-a-month networking event. I actually know the marketing person, but I can get you that information, and it's all federal contractors.
Go find people that you can go talk
And then our
to.
friends over at Career Network Ministries, they have their recruiter panel on Tuesdays. They often have, most of their recruiters are in the federal government space. Whether it's Joe Weech or our friend Mike, his last name, but they're all in the round robin federal contracting circuit. So I don't know, when you get out there, it's not terribly accessible. Take a look at what they're doing, and again, it's every Tuesday. Just see if they got recruiters that are so we're McLean Bible, McLean/Vienna/McLean out on Route 7.
Those are interesting jobs, both for lawyers and paralegals.
McLean Bible Church, yeah, that's where it's at. But it's Career Network Ministries.
Sit down and basically.
Again, they typically have a panel. They have programs from 6:30 to 7:30, and then they have panels at 7:30. And again, it's usually a panel of recruiters.
Because
We also have Toastmasters group out there. A lot of folks
You
that
know, when I
come
said
there.
have fun, maybe part of your having fun with your job
Great.
search is to reach out to law firms. Don't just work your
Great setting up highway management.
Hey, I might want to explore paralegal.
It's right there on the campus, they merge together.
So I'm thinking about titles.
So your ideal is GIS analyst?
Okay, 30 more seconds.
Yeah, that's what I want.
What the teacher do is, what I can do is, you may have the information, but also you have some type of bio. But it would just be networking, some type of, where you just and other people in the federal space. So the people who show up are either federal contractors or the folks who hire federal contractors. So I mean, I've met HR. I mean, I know the person, but the HR is there. And then folks who actually work at
They're consistent.
You're the master of justice of Crayola.
Great. So the transition?
Yeah.
Right, so you're not going to hear back, you still have
Okay, so stop there. We'll talk about that. Okay, so we're going to person number 5, so our last round.
So it's training people how to network, how to connect. So everything around that.
But I worked in the healthcare.
Just the basics of everything. So that's what I'm looking for. I spent 25 years in the banking industry, so I'm very comfortable there. So banks, title companies, anybody that has commission sales people, or people that have to face the world. And go out and face the world. So onboard, I'm good with the onboarding program where they bring in people out of college. That type of thing. They want to know ready to face the world. Also, when you're coming up with their skill set in the middle of increasing productivity, increasing their skills for networking with that, find what market. So that's my specialty. And that's the areas where I'm looking for. So banks, credit unions, mortgage companies, title companies, realty companies.
I mean, Marriott's based here, and they're so famous for their hospitality stuff and that kind of stuff. And they probably have a lot of in-house, but they might sell there. They might contract out somewhere. It seems like worth. I had trouble.
Hilton's based out in Lynn.
So I had trouble getting like finding stuff in the Marriott system because now I'm figuring out what was wrong with stuff. But customer service is like that kind of training.
So, one thing I want to look at in the context of, fish where the fish are, there's a group called the CFO Alliance, which is pretty obvious what they are, right? But so be there. They do a monthly breakfast program. It's a membership organization, but what they do is they hire you for the first time for free. So it's a good way to kick the tires and see if it's a relevant market or opportunities. Again, those are going to be the CFOs across sectors, technology fields, whatever. I think that's just a group to check out.
How do you feel about the sales management association? Sales management.
I'm going to talk to Lynn, that's sales and
You want a contract that's going to be like full-time, like 8 hours or something, or like forever.
No, it doesn't have to be. It can just be 4 contracts. Right, and come in and offer this kind of service. So it could be, I do it to all of them, or skills training. It doesn't have to be consistent. I'd rather actually have more contracts with more companies, small companies.
What is that? Sorry,
Are you a member of SHRE? Society for Human Resource Management? Again, could be a related way to get sort of a reverse lens. Who are your competition? Who are the other people that look at this issue and train on this issue? Again, we talked earlier about Sharon. She works with those people that are doing perhaps trying to get
Well, my other hat is that I'm a stylist, so it's actually very connected fields, and there's an association of image consultants. There's a lot of how to connect with stuff. There's a chapter here.
So you know Cindy Porter?
I do know her. And Washington Area Legal Recruiters Association or something like that has the they put on February as very for people like you, for people, and I did it once, like Will come in, and once you get on to once you get across that, there's
area.
So maybe for you, I'm getting interviews in science, AA, constantly.
Twins of
They work.
Oh, yeah.
I think, yeah, build up your expertise and see where the need is, but you've got the other skill set. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. Did you have a question?
Oh, okay. I was wondering, if you want in on this, and that's how you know where to put your people don't know where to go.
Okay, we have one more person, so we're gonna do, 4 minutes, general discussion, and then one more person. Sorry, I didn't realize we had more. Okay.
So Lori, you can be up if you want to be up. You don't have to.
I'm retired. But as you see, I'm back.
Oh, I thought we were
part-time. But that area of expertise, I worked for federal government for 34 years. And the first 10 years was probably administrative type, and then from there to budget and finance. And so that area of expertise was budget and finance.
Maybe the mayor may not, but.
I did work for one other nonprofit, but that was administrative. But I did sort of observe a lot with the nonprofits, and some of them, as for her, a lot of the nonprofits need auditors and that kind of thing. So you might want to check with them. Some of the nonprofits, because I know where I work, they went on a search looking for audits for companies to come in and do their audit at the end of the year. So you might want to check.
Absolutely.
Check around with the nonprofits. Yeah, they do have some. They do where they have to account for what money they do get. So nonprofits checks and balances.
Can't make money.
Yeah.
Look at board source.
You gotta spend it on.
Look at boardsource.org, they do stuff on governance.
Oh, really? Oh, that's.
Yeah, government auditors.
But that's nonprofit rate.
But still, government board, SOUR,
They have a yearly conference.
November, so if you see anything that's behind November firewall,
Okay, of course you're a member.
All of my career was federal, just about. So
What agency were you?
I was with Department of State for most of my career, and then for about 12 years I went over to the Department of Agriculture and worked there for a while. But
always like
always,
State Department better.
then I went back to State Department and I finished up there, but did a lot of international travel and budget conferences. And I was budget and finance manager, so I managed budget employees, about 10 of them. And, budget formulation, execution, so I'm not really looking for anything. But I just want to sort of be out here. It's good to be back in the working force for a while. Mingle, network, and all that good stuff.
What about you? That's your company's constellation.
We have 1 more minute, and then we're gonna get back in your seats.
Important to stay.
Oh, yeah. Folks are aware of research like Hoovers. It's a great website that collect information.
I'm always looking for private hospitals.
Oh,
You can get all the financial information, your organizational structure.
Wheelchairs, stories,
objective is
You get to charge for each position that I'm.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up now. Come back to the presentation. Everybody please take your seats. Okay.
Like that might be a.
We have to be after 11:30. Okay, so please, can everybody get in their seats?
Sure.
In their seats, please.
Go for it.
And you're welcome to continue networking after the presentation is over. Henry, can you sit down? It's like herding cats right now. Can my kitty sit down, please?
Not a problem.
Okay.
I don't think I caught you.
Okay, so we're going to talk at the end about this networking, how it went and what you got out of it, but I want to quickly get through the rest of the presentation so at least you get the content that we are here to discuss today. So we talked about, as we got going, the preparation in terms of establishing the contact list. Alex actually had a list of 400 names of VP or directors of operations or broadcasting and team owners. And then he focused on, putting together his resume and cover letter. We're not here to talk about resumes and cover letters today, but I will tell you the point that 40 Plus makes is that you need to customize your resume. You need to customize your cover letters on the job or opportunity you want to go after. You cannot just have one resume to use in your efforts. A lot of the discussion was going on in my group about, okay, what are some of the things that I'm looking for? Well, to me, it's like, okay, if you're looking for a project management job, you're going to have one kind of resume. If you're looking for a business analyst type role, you're going to, have another. So you're going to customize based on your opportunity. With Alex, we customized his resume and the cover letter 3 or 4 times over the course of 3 months. So it was quite, it was not a stagnant process. Okay, how he reached out to his folks. Pretty typical modes of contact that I think everyone's aware of, but I'll just go through them quickly. He did a lot via LinkedIn messaging. He purchased, or his mom purchased, the, what is it called? Professional membership for LinkedIn, where you can have so many outreaches per month at no charge. Of course, if you know somebody's email address, you can do that really without that, and you can contact them directly. So he would send a note with his resume, and he got good response that way. If he knew the email address, he oftentimes just sent it via email. One thing that he discovered, though, by doing it that way is that he was using, I believe it was his Ohio University email address, and a lot of his contacts were going into spam folder because of the, whatever the extension was. So he learned that from his follow-up, actually, because when somebody said, I didn't get your email, he figured out what was going on. He also did what we, I think all of us know is snail mail, right? I had him send, hand address, 200 letters to the team owners. So he sent the letters to the team owners via snail mail. I'll show you the results. It wasn't so good. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but he did it.
It's harder to throw out something like
Exactly.
paper and
exactly. Then of course you've got phone, right? So that's picking up the phone and actually calling somebody. One thing I want to share with you, in case you've never heard of it, it's just a miracle thing. If you want to call somebody and leave a message, you don't want them to answer the phone. Have you heard of slide dial? Yep. Okay, slide dial is a number you dial, and then you input the phone number of the person you're calling. It's got to be a mobile number. It can't just be an office number, and then it directly connects to their voicemail. So if you're trying to follow up with someone and you're maybe nervous about actually making a phone call, use slide dial. So the slide dial phone number is 267-759-3425. That's 267-759-3425.
Is there a charge for each time you use that?
No, it's free. You can buy a premium service that bypasses the advertising. But, yeah. 267-759-3425. Okay, and I can give it to you afterwards. So making phone calls was very uncomfortable for Alex, and we actually did some practicing of the actual phone call, and I had him practice as if he was going to reach somebody live, because that does happen, and he also practiced as if he was going to leave a voicemail, and he did an amazing job, but he had me as his coach to really say, okay, this is how I would do it, you know, and practice makes perfect for everything, right? So this is what happened in terms of the contacts he made. So I said there was 400 contacts. The VP and directors, he actually had a really good response rate on his first outreach. 70, so that's 35% of the 200 actually responded. Now, they didn't respond and say, we have a job opportunity for you. Some of them responded by saying, we're not hiring, or, you you need to talk to so-and-so, or we'll be posting the jobs later. So we got a lot of that, but they responded, and I thought that was pretty amazing. When he followed up after that with the second reach out, he got 20% of those 70 respond to him. So he was kind of narrowing down his funnel of good prospects, and he actually had 5 that he ended up having as ongoing, follow-up. And those were folks that said, yeah, we're hiring, just keep in touch, get back with me. And he did what he was supposed to do. He made the phone calls, he did the emails, and kept in touch. Team owners, that was the snail mail approach. Not so great. We got 10 responses, and when you reached back out to those 10, only one, said, okay, you need to talk to so-and-so, who was actually one of the VP and directors that he had already targeted. So not sure whether snail mail was not good. I think you'd have to do it again and maybe try it differently to see what would happen, but it was worth, I think, going through the effort.
That was all snail mail? But you just
To the team owners. Oh no, for the VP and directors, we did LinkedIn emails, phone calls.
And the team owners, it was all
Just snail mail, yes. Yes, right. So his follow-up was, again, this is a 3.5-month period of time. He touched base every 7 to 14 days. You don't want to be too persistent, because that can turn people off. I would say send an email. If you send an email, you can also follow up with a phone call, and then you repeat. It's like rinse and repeat. You just keep doing that, all right? Last week in the information interview presentation, the topic came up about how often should I keep contacting? And my premise is you keep contacting if it's a good opportunity until they say no or tell you to stop. You don't want to do that just with anyone, but if you've got a good prospect that could use your skill set, I would say you cannot contact too many times, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. Okay, so that was the hockey process that the process he used, for finding the hockey job. In parallel, he was also using what I call traditional job searching approaches, right? He was looking at Indeed and Teamwork Online, which is a website for sports jobs. He was doing networking with friends and family and LinkedIn. And it's a really combination of all of those things to get to where he's going to get in terms of getting the job. His mother actually encouraged him to go to a networking event where he actually met, not a networking event, it was the local Emmys, and one of the broadcasters from the Capitals was there, and he asked for an informational interview. I was really proud of him. And so he didn't meet with him in person, he had a phone conversation, but the broadcaster basically gave him affirmation that he was doing everything that he should have been doing for the hockey jobs. He confirmed the people that he was supposed to be, reaching were the right ones. And so it was a really good, exchange. And for a 22-year-old to go to an event and ask to a pretty senior level guy, he did well. So that didn't lead to anything in terms of the hockey job, but I think the whole purpose is, if somebody says you want to go to this networking event, you never know who's going to be there that can maybe help you. So it's much more preferable to be out in front of people talking than sitting behind the computer, as we all know is a very lonely place, because I spend time there myself. So networking, it's really all about the networking. Asking for referrals, that's what we talked about today. Informational interviews, If you didn't attend last Monday, you should watch it on YouTube, the 40 Plus YouTube. That was a very good presentation, I thought Barbara gave. And then one of the things that I really insisted on that Alex do was send thank you notes. Either a thank you email, or in some cases he did a handwritten note to anyone that expressed interest. I said, you need to make yourself look different and exceptional than everybody else, because that's what people are going to remember. And so he did it, and it's all about, again, the follow-up. Okay, so the third component of the process that I mentioned at the beginning was the accountability and activity. So when he put together his list of 400 contacts, he put it into a spreadsheet. I realize you can't see everything that's on here, but he had listed the team name, where they were located, who the contact was, their title, email address. In some cases, I think he had phone, that column is hidden. And then he kept here was his notes. Okay, so any conversation that he had with anybody, or if they responded to the email, he put this in his, what I call the tracker. 40 Plus is also a big advocate of having an activity tracker. Now I'm going to ask a quick question. How many people know in their head how many potential job prospects they have right now? Do you know? Do you just keep track of things in your head, or do you use a tracker? Who just keeps track of it in their head? Okay. Who actually uses some kind of tracker? Okay. All right. So I would say if you're using a tracker, that's great, because that means you have a lot of activities going on that you can't remember all of them. Conversely, if you don't have an activity tracker, it may mean that you just don't have enough, okay? Because in sales, it really is a numbers game. It takes, in general, the statistics say 100 calls to get 10 meetings to get one sale. And I think for job searching, it might be comparable.
So I've got two questions. One, with respect to the activity tracker, what are you talking about? Are you just talking, can it be something as simple as a spreadsheet that you put together yourself?
Yes.
To keep track of it and what needs to be done? Or is there a more sophisticated system designed specifically for for people in career transition?
I'm not aware
that has
of
a
that.
flag that says, hey, you're supposed to call this guy.
I can recommend Jibber Jobber does exactly that.
Jibber Jobber.
Jibber Jobber.
Okay. Is it free?
Jibberjobber.com. It's free. It's free. They have a premium service, but almost all their
Jibber Jobber.
more high valuable stuff is free.
Google Suite has it too.
Okay. Yes, so there are some technology
Jibber
options.
Jabber, and thank you. Okay, so my second question is, and maybe we're not there yet. I'm sorry.
Well, we're wrapping up here soon.
Okay, so my question is, you went through the whole thing about, how the guys was talking to people and they said, oh yeah, you're doing all the right things, and blah, 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 and it was a nice confirmation. So what do you do when you get to the point where you confirm that you're doing all the right things, yet stuff is not moving forward? Isn't that more, to me, that's more frustrating than
Sometimes
anything.
it's timing. In sales, it's all about timing. And sometimes it's budget, right? Somebody, they want to fill a position, you might be the right person, but they don't have a budget. Sometimes people can't tell you what's really going on, right? So that's why the keeping in touch is so important. And for things that are looking to become lukewarm, if you think there's an opportunity, but it's just kind of getting lukewarm, don't stop contacting them. Just maybe put your timeline out a little bit more. Instead of every 7 to 14 days, you might reach back out once a month, okay? So let's keep going, and then if you have other questions, I'll answer them at the end. This is why follow-up is so important. The first statistics, 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect, right? So in 40 plus classes that I facilitate, almost always there's somebody who's project management, and I say, oh, you should call me, because I might know somebody. Can I tell you? About 10% of the time people do. All right? So I think it's comparable for job searching. But if you are making contacts, this is what's so amazing, right? Whoops. There's Willy Wonka. 2% of sales are made on the first contact, 3% second. 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. And my guess is job searching is comparable. right? It's not the first time, it's not the second time. People give up after 3 times is usually about what it is, right? Think about when you wanting to buy something, the salesperson, once, twice, 3, then they give
For
up.
one particular job or for the career goal in general?
I think in general,
Okay.
yeah.
So I keep hearing now that they're saying when you do that, when you reach out to someone, let's say, you're not supposed to ask for a job. Even when you're like desperate, you're never supposed to ask for a job. Like, so, but they don't tell you exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to say like, what's going on with the company,
I think
or I'm
that's
looking
a whole nother topic we
It
could
is?
talk
Okay,
offline.
okay.
Yeah,
Good
okay.
question.
Excuse
Good
me, what was
question, yeah.
the source for the statistics? I couldn't read the URL.
Oh, this, I can't either, but I'm happy to send you the slide.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. I think it's on there to be able to read it. Okay, so my favorite book and movie from when I was 10 years old was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And this is Willy Wonka saying to Charlie, don't forget what happens to the man who suddenly got everything he always wanted. He lived happily ever after. And Alex got a job. So that's his not being.
How long did it take?
It took him about 3 months. Yeah. So he ended up getting a position with Verizon, and he's doing videography. He's getting a lot of on-the-job training. He likes, what he's doing. It's a contract role, so it's not full-time. So he's been doing that since August. He thinks it was because I helped him update his LinkedIn profile, which, he updated it one day and then got the call from the recruiter the next. So, but I can't take credit. I think really why he got this opportunity is because he had a lot of activity. And I truly believe in when I have a lot of things going on, things start happening. When I don't have a lot going on, things don't change, right? So he, has this job. He's been working there since August. Good news is we're getting back into hockey season time again, and he's going to give it another go. So I encouraged my friend, his mother, let him try it one more time. It doesn't hurt to try. And then if he doesn't get something with the hockey team, he's probably going to try to figure out something else in, in other broadcasting or other, marketing type things. So we're almost done. We talked about really all of this. I'm going to move forward. Just lessons learned, because I think these are really, really important just to emphasize. Again, activity creates more opportunity. It's all about the activity. Be agile. You probably have heard that phrase. It's used in software development. It's like you try one approach, you figure out if it works. If it doesn't, you try something else. So don't keep doing the same thing. In your emails, don't always use the same subject line. Just mix it up and just see what happens. Follow-up is crucial. You can't give up. You have to keep following up. And keeping yourself accountable with this activity spreadsheet or jibber jabber, which I'm going to check into, sounds great. And, in my world, I like to have fun, and I like to reward myself for when I actually do things, because I am a procrastinator. I think that's really important. So, we are, I think, 11:28. Before we get to questions, I think we'd like some feedback on the networking and how that went.
Yes. Did folks enjoy that? What do you
Was that
think?
worth doing?
Yeah.
As part of our 40+ Monday morning?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Always.
I guess maybe for people who have been coming to the meetings a lot, that would also be, yeah. So what, any big ahas from anybody get any leads or really good ideas?
It was fascinating that most people in my group were practically my neighbors.
Here we go, it's a small world.
There's a city over. I didn't expect that.
That was good to know, that you're doing the right thing, even though a lot of the stuff I knew, it was just validation, because you feel like you're in a box. You're really just plugging away, trying to do everything, trying to read what they say you're supposed to do, and it keeps changing so quickly. So it was nice to hear that.
Good. Well, it was very much an agile, ad hoc thing that we tried. So, so that's everything I have. If anyone has any questions, happy to stick around and chat with anyone.
Well, Lynn, thank you very much. may already have this in your collection, but if not, you have more 40-plus swag and souvenirs. We appreciate it for our speakers.
Thank you.
And then before everybody goes, we have a little contest. As we all know, there's an app for that. There's an app for everything. Our colleague Beth Zianis wrote this book, The Big Book of Apps. It's sort of apps A to Z. So job searching apps, resume writing apps, networking apps, all of that kind of thing. So what we're going to do this is, let's see, what's today? May 14th. Who has a birthday in May that hasn't happened yet? Okay, anybody else? Besides my wife. Okay, yes, you win. All right, enjoy.
Thank you. Happy birthday. Thank you.
And again, please take a second to share your feedback with us on these little forms. We do a drawing each month for a little gift card.
Yeah, definitely.
But more importantly, we want to learn from that.
Yeah, because we're kind of in similar situations.
Again, for those,
to get together and.
excuse us, for those who are first timers, raise your hand again one more time. Blue badges, yay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Meet Tom. Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Tom's going to introduce you to 40 Plus and tell you a little bit more about what we offer, and we're going to do that next door. And then again, for those who are here, please continue the networking. Next week, we're going to take a little bit of a different focus. We're going to have a representative from an outplacement organization. So these are organizations that work with people who have effectively been